Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Attention, please. How are you today, my friends? Okay, let's get started to this material. Beforehand, I want to introduce my group. The first, my name is Muhammad Ismail, and there is my friends Nur Anissa Fitriah, and then Hana Musdalifah. Okay, for the first material will be presented by my friends Nur Fitriah.
Okay, so the first is about formative and summative assessment. Well, be talking about assessment. Actually, what is the definition about assessment? Assessment is the systematic basis for making inferences about the learning and development of students. So another way of classifying assessment is into the categories is formative and summative assessment. So formative assessment measures the student's abilities as part of a process. Formative assessment is part of the learning process itself and looks to the future rather than focusing exclusively on what has been achieved up to a given point in time. Jadi formative assessment ini mengukur kemampuan siswa sebagai bagian dari suatu proses. Makanya penilaiannya itu dilakukan pada saat proses pembelajaran. Dan contohnya seperti presentations, group activities, and peer review. Yang kedua yaitu summative assessment. Snapshot exams, which simply give an idea of what a student can do at any given time, which measures the product of a student learning. Jadi, uh, summative assessment ini dilakukan pada akhir proses pembelajaran. Makanya bobotnya lebih besar atau lebih banyak karena dia menilai dari seluruh akhir proses pembelajaran. Contohnya seperti final paper, final test, project atau esai, research project, exam, midterm exam, and standardized test. Nah, summative assessment itu kan dibilang di akhir pembelajaran dinilainya, makanya disebut assessment for learning. So, 10 principle for AFL is number one, be part of effective planning of teaching and learning, where both teachers and students can measure progress towards the learning goals. Number two, focus on how students learn. Three, be a key professional skill for teacher. Number four, be sensitive and constructive because any assessment has an emotional impact. Number five, take account of the importance of student motivations. Number six, promote understanding of goals and criteria. Number seven, include student consultation about the criteria for assessment. Eight, help the students know how to improve. Nine, development the student capacity for self-assessment so that they become reflective and self-managing. And number 10 is recognize the full range of achievement of all learners. So, the next is qualities of a good test. Jadi, tes yang baik itu seperti apa sih? Yang pertama itu harus ada transparansi. Now, transparency means that anyone concerned with the test should have access to clear statements about what the test is supposed to measure. Jadi, kenapa harus ada transparansi di dalam qualities of a good test? Uh, the goals of transparency is to make sure that our students know how assessment works, and then the student they need to know what they must do to reach a pass mark, and then they need to know what would not get them a pass. So number two is a validity. Validity, a test is valid if it tests what it is supposed to test. It will only be valid if the test offers as accurate as possible a pictures of the skill or ability it is supposed to measure. Jadi, sebuah tes dikatakan valid jika tes tersebut menguji apa yang seharusnya diuji. Contohnya misalnya pada saat guru akan menguji sebuah pelajaran bahasa Inggris, maka konten yang diberikan adalah mengenai bahasa Inggris. Yang selanjutnya adalah reliability. Reliability refers to the consistency of the test result given the same conditions. A test should always give the same result. For the example, like if you get 95 score in the first test, and the next test you must get 95 score too, like that. And next is Westback. Westback effect is the impact that tests have on teaching and learning. Good tests have a very positive Westback effect. Jadi, seperti contoh yang di bawah ini. Jadi, guru itu memberi tugas untuk meringkas. Nah, the positive Westback from summary is help readers understand and know the content of the book. Okay. Next.
Okay, for the next materials is there is types of text. In the categories types of text there are 4 categories. Among of them there is placement test. Placement test when students take up for a language course in a private language school. For example, they usually do placement test to determine which class that should go. Di sini placement test menjelaskan bahwasanya ini digunakan untuk mendaftar kursus bahasa, misalnya adalah menentukan kelasnya. Untuk mengukur kemampuannya, placement test mengukur kemampuannya untuk menganalisis kelas yang mana yang cocok buat siswa tersebut. Seperti itu. Okay, and then progress and achievement test. It is designed to measure the student language and skill progress in relation and to the syllabus they have been following. Now, how well have to learn what they have studying and also result for more still need to be done. Di sini progress assessment digunakan atau dirancang untuk mengukur kemajuan bahasa dan keterampilan siswa. Jadi kemampuan bahasa dan keterampilan siswa dengan mengikuti silabus yang mereka ikuti. Contoh, ketika kita melakukan UAS PKBBA. PKBA itu yang diukur dari beberapa kemampuan seperti halnya writing, listening, dalam bahasa Inggris, dan juga interview atau speaking, ya pokoknya kemampuan di dalam bidang grammar juga seperti itu. Nah, di sini juga there is proficiency test. Proficiency test give a general snapshot picture, student knowledge and ability. They are frequently used in the high school public exam, where a lot depend on how well the candidate do. They are usually goal to people how to reach it. For example, when they want to admit a foreign university, get a particular job, or assign guidance. Nah, proficiency test ini digunakan untuk menguji pengetahuan dan kemampuan siswa di tingkat ujian yang sangat tinggi. Seperti hal contoh tes TOEFL, IELTS, IELTS, dan juga tes-tes yang lain juga. Itu contohnya. Untuk mendaftar ke kampus luar negeri misal, atau ke perusahaan-perusahaan yang besar. Seperti itu. Next slide. This is a portfolio assessment. Proficiency test give a general snapshot, picture student, knowledge, and ability. Portfolio assessment ini memberikan kita kalau semisal dalam satu periode pembelajaran, dalam satu periode itu dites ulang melalui penilaian portofolio. Nah, murid-murid itu diwajibkan memberikan karya minimal 3 karya di dalam penilaian portofolio tersebut kepada guru. Seperti itu. Next. Okay, ice breaking guys. Don't forget to always participate with this ice breaking.
Jadi ice
Okay,
breaking itu tebak gambar. Nah, ada yang tahu ini gambar apa?
Saya tahu.
Apa?
Mana nanti?
Apa?
Buang
Ayo.
air. Buang air.
Benar. Yes. Selanjutnya.
Lanjutnya guys.
Potong harga.
Iya,
benar.
benar.
Okay, right. Thank you. Okay, next.
Selanjutnya.
Next.
Senam otak.
Yeay, benar.
Yay, betul.
Okay, right.
Selanjutnya, ayo. Nih.
Apa itu, guys?
Radiasi matahari.
Iya, benar.
Ya, betul.
Kayaknya udah apa nih?
Selanjutnya.
Fermentasi
Fermentasi.
susu.
Yeay, benar. Fermentasi susu.
Ya, ada
Iya,
susunya.
benar. Ini. Ayo, ini apa?
Beliau tebak guys.
11 kok
Ayo.
Bingung ya.
Dan jawabannya?
Mana aku nyasa mongnya?
Apa, ayo? Itu gambar apa?
Yang beda ki ulang deui. Gimana?
11
korban.
Ya,
korban.
lanjut.
11
Lanjut.
korban.
Lanjut lagi.
Apa itu?
Kebanjiran ya?
Ya.
Kebakaran.
Iya, benar. 11 korban kebakaran.
Yeay.
Selanjutnya ini. Terakhir.
Maha Pencipta.
Iya, benar. Iya, benar. Maha Pencipta. Oke.
Yeay, betul.
Next.
Okay, for next presentation.
Next.
Test item test. There is a wide variety different tax item types available to language tester. This rank from indirect tax item which target the knowledge of, for example, a specific item of program and vocabulary to more direct tax item which ask student to perform direct language tasks such as writing letter. Jadi ada beberapa tipe task atau ujian yang mengarah kepada kemampuan siswa seperti halnya dalam bidang grammar, writing, dan di bidang listening, vocabulary. Next slide.
Okay. The next is some typical test item types. So many public language are now administered digitally, and as a result, there have been some changes to test design. Of course, many other tests are still pencil and paper affairs, especially where technology for digital assessment is unavailable. In the following example of mostly indirect test item types, both digital and pencil and paper item are included. First is multiple choice question. A traditional vocabulary multiple choice question or MCQ look like this, guys. Like example at PPT, MCQ are one of the most popular test instruments for measuring student knowledge of grammar and vocabulary, especially because they are easy to mark. MCQ present a number of challenges. However, in the first place, they are extremely difficult to write well, especially in terms of the design of the incorrect choices, or known as distractor. Secondly, while it is possible to train students so that their MCQ ability are enhanced, this might not actually improve their English. MCQ are used for discrete point testing, as in the example above, but they are also frequently used in more integrative tests such as testing reading or listening comprehension. The second is gap fill. Many test items ask the student to complete sentence with word or phrase. Candidates need to be told whether they should write only one word or whether more than one word is possible or expected. In some cases, the word or phrase required might be listed in a box. In digital tests, candidates often have to drag and drop out the appropriate item from the box into the correct blanks. Okay, next.
Sudah?
Number 3 is transformation and paraphrase. This is a common test item that asks the candidate to rewrite sentence in a slightly different form, retaining the exact meaning of the original. For example, the following item tests the candidate knowledge of verb and clause pattern that are triggered by the use of I wish. In order to complete the item successfully, the candidate has to understand the first sentence and then know how to construct an equivalent which is grammatically possible. As such, this item do tell us something about the candidate knowledge of the language system. And number 4 is the ordering. Getting students to put a set of jumbled words in the right order to make appropriate sentences tell us quite a lot about their underlying knowledge of syntax and lexical grammatical elements. The following example is typically like this. Okay. The biggest challenge for test designer is to find sentence where only one sequence is correct. Reordering is sometimes used on a bigger scale for reading tests where the candidate have to put sentence or paragraph in order. Okay, next. Okay, number 5 is summarizing. Summarizing is a way of testing a student's ability to understand and put that understanding into words. Another type of summarizing test is administered through MCQ. Students read or listen to something and choose the correct summary from a number of alternative ones. For example, it's like at PPT, guys. Okay, next.
Next, Ismail. Masih ke mute, sorry.
Sorry. This is the skill focus test. When the test designer and teachers construct items, especially direct test items, to the student, skill knowledge is important that they create a level playing field. For example, candidate in the writing, speaking test make well complain. If they were given the following as the question, since in the opportunity those who have some scientific knowledge. Jadi di sini skill focus test ini difokuskan kepada keterampilan pengetahuan siswa. Misal bahasa Inggris ada beberapa keterampilan seperti speaking, itu difokuskan pada seperti itu. Ada beberapa keterampilan. Oke. Next. Nah, seperti contohnya di sini ada mau speaking. Kalau speaking, writing, contohnya bisa dibaca sendiri. Bagaimana caranya nanti? Oke, next. Next. Nah, di sini reading, ada juga reading, ada juga listening. Ini semuanya keterampilan dalam berbahasa. Jadi ada 4 itu seperti itu. Nanti contohnya nanti bisa dilihat sendiri di buku. Oke, next.
Nah, selanjutnya yaitu ada Young Learner Test Item Types. Jadi, Young Learner itu kan berbeda dengan older children and adults. So, testing your young learner demands a different approach. Jadi, young learner itu akan lebih mudah lebih mudah dikasih tes itu jika melalui gambar. Contohnya seperti melalui gambar. Karena penggunaan gambar di dalam tes akan meningkatkan interaktivitas dan diskusi siswa. Mengajar dengan gambar juga dapat membantu mengembangkan kemampuan literasi visual siswa yang berkontribusi pada kemampuan berpikir kritis dari siswa yang mana usia siswa yang learner itu masih terbilang usia yang masih berpikir kritis. Selanjutnya itu ada tics, crosses, and smiley face. Jadi tes untuk pelajar muda atau yang learner itu seringkali meminta siswa untuk memberi tanda centang atau tanda silang pada gambar untuk mengidentifikasi gambar tersebut atau informasi di dalamnya. Contohnya seperti ini. Put an X on the face or word that best shows how you feel. Selanjutnya ada dragging, dropping, and clicking. Young learner can be asked in digital tests offered on computer or mobile platforms to drag and drop items into picture or to click on appropriate pictures. They can select and click to color items or select from drop down yes and no answers. Contohnya seperti ini. Jadi ini contoh dragging di mana diminta untuk menyeret gambar yang ada warnanya kepada gambar yang tidak ada warnanya, yang mana yang tepat seperti itu. Next.
Okay, the next is writing test. At various times during our teaching careers, we might have to write tests for students we are teaching and mark the tests they have complete for us. This might range from a progress test at the end of week to an achievement test at the end of a term or year. In writing tests, there are three main issues we need to address. First is objective. We need to be clear in our mind about why we will be asking the student to take the test. If we wish to find out how well they have learned what they have been studying, we might well write a progress test. If we want information to help us to decide what to do next, our test will be designed to find the student's strength and weakness. Our students need to have a clear understanding of the test objective too, and the criteria for success. In other words, they need to know how the test is scored and what they have to do to get good grades. Number two is context. We need to remind ourselves of the context in which the test takes place. We have to decide how much time can and should be given to the test taking, when and where it will take place, and how much time is available for marking. And number three is future action. We need to have an idea of what we are going to do with the test result once the test has been complete. Okay, next. Once we are clear about the objective of our test, the situation it will take place in, and what we will do with the result, there are a number of other things we need to take into account. First is test content. We have to list what we want to include in our test. This might mean taking a conscious decision to include or exclude skills such as reading comprehension or speaking, if speaking tests are impractical. Number two is balance. If we are to include direct and indirect test item, we have to make a decision about how many of each we should put in our test. Balancing element also involve estimating how long we want each section of the test to take and then writing test item within those time constraints. Number three is scoring. However, we have balanced the element in our test. Our perception of our students' success or failure will depend upon how many marks are given to each section of the test. And the last is trialing test. It is a good idea to try out individual item and or whole test on colleagues or other students before administering them to real candidates. This is especially important if the student grades are going to be recorded or if the score are going to count toward their final grade. Such trialing is designed to avoid disaster and to yield a wide range of possible answer or respond to the various test items. This means that if other people finally mark the test, we can give them a list of possible alternatives and thus ensure reliable scoring. Okay, next. Okay, marking test. There are a number of ways of making the score more reliable. First is training. Scorer can be trained to grade candidate work effectively. In the first place, we can show them example of candidate work at different level, whether this involve written, submission, or for example, video or oral test, and such as what score should be given in each case. Number two is more than one scorer. Reliability can be greatly enhanced by having more than one scorer. The more people who look at a script, the greater the chance that it is true word will be located somewhere between the various scores that are given. Two examiners watching an oral test are likely to agree on a more reliable score than one. Next. The next is using scale. One way of specifying score that can be given to productive scale work is to use predefined descriptor of performance, such as the CEFR or the Global Scale of English. We can then design tests which ask the student to do the thing which the descriptor suggests, and we can then grade them on whether they succeed. Okay, the next is Ismail.
Okay, scoring. Listener scoring and interacting during oral tests. Nah, LDOC speaking tests are increasing by administration. Nah, digitally majority of oral tests still take place face to face. Jadi tujuannya tes ini adalah untuk interaksi seperti ada di ini. Jadi melalui interaksi seperti itu. Oke, next. Okay, analytics profile. With analytics profile, marks are awarded for the element which contribute to the lexical description. Jadi di sini ada contoh Arezzo analytics looking for this one. Dari segi pronunciation-nya, penggunaan kosakata, grammar, dan pendidikan refer, dan juga computation-nya. Jadi bisa dilihat di sini cara kita menganalisis profil atau menganalisis mereka. Dari segi kemampuannya seperti itu. Inilah contohnya. Oke, next.
Selanjutnya ada teaching for test, di mana guru akan lebih menyukai saat mengajar untuk ujian, karena menurut guru mengajar saat ujian adalah merupakan hal yang memuaskan karena adanya tujuan yang jelas dan siswa sangat termotivasi untuk melakukan sebaik mungkin. Nah, namun pada saat akan diadakan sebuah ujian atau tes, itu pasti siswa merasakan yang namanya cemas atau tidak siap. Nah, apa yang harus dilakukan sebagai guru? Yang pertama yaitu train for test type. Teacher give the students training to help them approach test items more effectively. Jadi, guru memberikan beberapa macam latihan soal agar siswa terbiasa untuk mengerjakan nanti, agar siswa terbiasa dengan suasana yang pada saat akan ujian nanti. Yang kedua adalah train for test rubrics. Some candidates have problems with exam rubrics or the instructions about what to do for a questions. Jadi pada saat melaksanakan ujian, banyak siswa yang memiliki masalah dengan exam rubrics atau the instruction about what to do for a questions. So we as a teacher need to remind our students of the importance of reading rubrics carefully and provide opportunities for them to practice this. And number 3 is discuss general exam skills. Most students benefit from being reminded about general test and exam skills without which much of the work they do will be wasted. Jadi di discuss general exam skill ini, some general exam skills dan can be useful. Yang pertama itu managing time. Misalnya guru mengingatkan kalau misalnya ada soal yang kosong atau yang merasa susah, itu dilompatin terlebih dahulu dan mengerjakan soal yang lebih mudah. Jadi kalau misalnya masih ada sisa waktu, kembali ke soal yang sulit tersebut tadi, agar waktunya lebih efisien. Yang kedua yaitu exam preparation. Jadi siswa pada saat ujian itu harus menyiapkan em, dirinya, baik itu mengulang materi, pokoknya intinya sebelum ujian itu siswa harus belajar agar dia dapat menjawab soal tersebut. Yang ketiga yaitu yang keempat adalah do practice test. One of the best ways of making students feel more relaxed about the experience is to give them opportunities to practice taking the test or exam so that they get a feel for the experiences. Biasanya saat mengikuti tes, siswa itu menjadi sangat cemas. Salah satu cara terbaik untuk membuat siswa merasa lebih rileks adalah memberi mereka kesempatan untuk berlatih mengerjakan tes atau ujian. Nah, contohnya seperti pada saat kita mau UN atau ujian nasional itu biasanya sebelum ujian guru memberikan kita beberapa contoh latihan soal tryout agar kita nanti terbiasa pada saat melaksanakan ujian nasional tersebut. Dan yang terakhir adalah have fun. Teaching for tests need to be an endless and soul-destroying round of practice tests, but can instead, if we apply our usual pedagogical principle, be engaging and enjoyable. Jadi, bagaimana perasaan kita sebagai siswa pada saat guru bilang akan mengadakan tes atau ujian? Pasti kita akan merasa khawatir, takut kita tidak bisa menjawab. Makanya guru harus mendesain mungkin ujian tersebut dengan semenarik mungkin. Misalnya di dalamnya itu eh, ditaruh seperti semacam game yang intinya membuat siswa tidak takut kalau akan adanya ujian tersebut. Sekian.
Oke, terima kasih. Thank you very much for your participation for all my friends, and then for attention. Have look at the material from the first to the end of this material. And thank you. I hope you it's usefully, and I want to say thank you very much for attention. We are from group 6. Say thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi